Hi, Kathy here from Kathy's Cute Creations. Today we're going to make a pillowcase to fit that pillow that we made. All right, let's get started. Okay, I can't really give you dimensions because your pillow size might be different than my pillow size, but then I can show you how to make a pillowcase. So what I've done is I've chosen 3 fabrics. So this fabric is little hearts, and it's actually hearts with little puppy feet, I believe. Then I'm going to put a strip, which is going to be the white with the bubbles. And then the very tip is going to be this red with little black puppy feet. And see, they almost look like hearts, the shape of the pad. And that may be where somebody came up with the idea on this one to make them hearts. So the way that I figured it out was I laid my fabric down, laid my pillow on it, made sure I had some for the seam back here. I took my fabric and I rolled it to make sure that I could put it in a seam. So that's how I ended up getting the width of my fabric. And then I just looked at it lengthwise. That's how I figured out how much to cut out of mine. Then what the next step that I did is you want to decide how much do you want to cut, which is this is the white now. How much of this do you want for the strip in your pillow? I'll give you an idea. Here's a pillow I made a long time ago. So this is the strip, oops, that I'm talking about right here. We're going to put that in there, and then we're going to put the, so in my case, the red with the puppy feet is going to be where this white is, and the white strip is going to be where the purple is. And that's what I'm working on. So you decide how much you want, and I'm going to go with 2 inches because you can always make it smaller, but you can't make it bigger. I've already cut the end off of here. And then you need to decide how much do you want for the end of it. And don't forget to cut your selvage off, which this has it. Remember, it's the area that's got all those little holes along it. And we're going to need to fold this in half, since it's so long. And iron your fabric. And make sure I have that off. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to keep in mind you've got to have your seam. So in this case, I'm going to do 5 because I can always make it smaller. Okay, and that should be long enough. Now with your right sides together, you pin the small to the medium and you sew it. So I'm using a 2.5 inch length, just like regular. My needle is 12. And you're going to need to excuse my constant clearing my throat. I am very dry. I did bring up a drink here, some coffee, and some cough drops for my throat, although my throat's not sore, but it's a constant clearing going on. I pinned a couple of spots here to hold it down. And you're going to go down the entire length. I guess I can increase my speed now that I'm... There we go. So go ahead and go down. Now when you're finished sewing that, you're going to take it over to the ironing board. I just went ahead and sewed it 1/4 inch. Now the way that I'm doing this is different than a lot of people. So we went ahead and we sewed it like that. Then I folded it back on itself when I ironed it. So this is a flap here. And the reason I'm doing that is that back when I started making a pillowcase the first time that I tried to make one, I don't know how it happens, but I don't catch all my edges. And so to avoid that, since this is for beginners, I want to make sure that at least you have one caught, which is this end. If you feel more comfortable folding this in half, putting it together and sewing it one time, that's fine. But I'm just trying to make it really, really easy so it's not frustrating. And now what you do is you take, I probably need to go over here to the ironing board and lay this out. It'll be easier. Okay, so here's the part that's got the opening here. You're going to take the top of your, or the body of your pillowcase, and you're going to put it on here. And this is right sides together, so all of the right sides are showing, so there's no confusion. And I need to back it up. So this is the right side of the pillowcase, the large piece. This is the right side, the medium, and this is the right side because it's folded over. And then you're going to pin this. So all you do is take it, and now you can flip it over this way. I didn't want to lose it off my ironing board. So now just pin it. Pin the whole thing. And then take it over to the sewing machine. Again, go ahead and lock your end. And I'm doing mine 1/4 inch, just like I did before. And if you have clips that you would like to use that somebody's given you as a gift, or you just had them because you saw them, you thought they were pretty neat looking, I'll get them out here so you can take a look at them. Okay, so here's what the clips look like. They come in all different colors. And what you would do, I'm going to unpin this so I can show you. And you can use them either side. It doesn't make any difference. You can either use them this way or you can use them that way. And you just clip it on your fabric all along. Oops. It holds a thick amount of fabric. There you go. And that's just like pins. Lots of people like to use those instead of the pins, which is fine. Whatever your preference is. Hopefully that there's no glare on there. When you get up to one, you just take it off. No chance of running that over. And when you get down to the end, I've noticed that I have more of my main fabric than the red, but that's fine. That just means that my black fabric was ironed stiffer than my red and my white because they're short, although I cut them all the same size. Also, when it moves underneath the needle, it may do that. No big problem. That's why I always say make sure you cut it bigger than you need. Brought it back to the ironing board. What I'm going to do is I'm going to iron it so that the white stays down on the pillow, because this is the top of the pillow up here and this is the bottom. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the hem on the top of my pillow. I flipped my fabric over, and I find that when I make a hem, it is easier for me to take my iron and go ahead and roll my fabric up and iron it. Then I do not have to pin it when I take it over to the sewing machine. And then this is the first hem. So I'll take it over there, and then I have a choice. I can either do it, roll it once and iron it, or twice. In this case, I think I'm just going to go ahead and iron it twice. Now this is just me guessing at it, so hold on here, and I'm going to get a ruler to make sure I've got the right size I want. Usually when I get down to the end, that's where I get my thing messed up. Hold on. Right, so this is a 3/4 inch. Let's see. A little bit more, looks like. So I'm off just a hair. just go along it and check it. 3/4, 3/4. And at the end, I'm off just a smidgen. So, yeah. And then, to see if I have it right, I'll take it from the fabric. That says 2.5. Let's see if I've got it right. Fabric, and yes, I have it right. Okay, so that's it. Then I'm just going to take this and I'm going to sew it. This is where you could, since it's going to be like this, you can put a decorative stitch or just a plain straight stitch. You could do top stitching, anything you want to do. Now's when you're going to do it at the sewing machine. Okay, so now here is where, when you're new to sewing, you're saying to yourself, how the heck do I know if I'm even catching this? Because I'm on a side that I can't see the seam, which is true. I used to think the same thing when I was first starting out. But this is what you've got to keep in mind. Your foot, and this is what I do to find out where it's at. So I put my foot down on my fabric. I don't need these here. I can feel with my hand, let me show you with my pointing tool here. This is the edge right here. So I already know that my whole foot fits on it. But the disadvantage is, if I sew just keeping my fabric on the right hand side of my foot, then it's only going to go down the middle of it. What if I want to go over here on the edge to the left? Well, then what you do is you lift your foot up, oops, move your fabric over, and remember your plate has numbers on it, okay? So this helps you also. Here's where my fabric is right here. So now my fabric is on the edge of the foot right here. But when my needle comes down, it's still quite a bit away. So I want to go over further to the left. So I pick it up again and bring it down. Here's now my fabric is on this side of the needle. So I know that my needle has hit it. And when I look over here on the right, it's on the number 2. So if I follow the number 2, then I know it's going to get on it because it's going to be right here on the edge. So let me see if I can try and do that. Okay, let's go to the back here because you want to lock it. Okay. And you don't go fast when you're doing this. And I'm going to stop and we're going to take a look at it. Let me see if we can flip that over and take a look at it. And you can see, right there where I've caught the fabric. So that's what you want to do when you're sewing this. Another thing you can do is you can mark your fabric and put a line down there so you know where to sew. And you can use, which I wouldn't use one of the friction pins. What I would use is a pencil like this, which is white chalk, because that will come off when it gets washed and you won't have to worry about it. And you can buy the pencils in the store. That I think came in something that I got. I don't think I bought that, but I do like it for marking. I'm going to go ahead and finish sewing it all the way down. And like I said, I'm going to take my time, so it's going to be a minute. When I got off camera and I got to looking at this, I thought, I don't want to do this in white. I either want to use red or black. So I'm ripping this out. And then I don't recall if I ever showed you how to use your seam ripper. So I thought I'd show you now. What I do is I go on the back side and I rip out every second or third stitch. Let's see if I can get this in the camera here. Let's see. Okay. It's almost too close to my face. I can't see it. There we go. And that's what I do. And then normally on the front side, when you've done that, here's the front, you should be able to take that top piece of thread and just pull it off. And then all you're doing is taking these scragglies here. And you can either use your hand, or even some people use the back of an eraser, or they use one of those lint brushes to get that off. So I decided on a black thread, and what I'm doing, I went ahead and I changed my thread to embroidery thread, and while I'm going down this, I'm watching this edge here where the number 2 is. I'm not watching anything here on the fabric at all. All I'm doing is making sure that this piece of fabric right here goes along this line on number 2. Continue to the end, and then I'll show you the results. Okay, here's how that stitching turned out. Caught it on the back. And now this is where I go and I trim this side. That's a little bitty piece right there. That's all that had to be cut off. And now it's fine. Now when you're putting this together, you want to make sure that you line up where the very top is. This is like nesting, except you don't have a seam going one direction or the other. You want to line up the white, because here's the white. You want to line these. I'm going to put a clip on it. And it should be lined up. I'm not sure if it is or not. No, it's not. No, it is not. Yep. Got to change that thread again. I don't want to use my embroidery thread. And for that embroidery project, this is what I used. It's Shiny Strong and Color Fast to Bleach. Premium Sulky. Okay? Just in case you wanted to know that. And most threads, excuse me, that I sew with are from Connecting Threads, which is a 100% cotton thread that I get online. Okay, let's see. Down to our clip here. And this is a lot of fabric because this is where I turned my fabric upward. So they're all meeting. So go slow over this bump. And hopefully it doesn't distort it. I'm going to find out here in a minute. There we go. And this is where I usually make the bottom longer than my pillow, so that when I put my pillow form in there, I know where to make it shorter. I'll show you what I'm talking about here in a minute. And I'm pretty sure this is too long. Let me go ahead and trim it anyway, just as if it wasn't. So I take off my corners. If you have a serge machine and you know how to use it, you could actually serge your seams. Now note, I don't have a seam on this side because I folded my fabric. So let's turn it inside out. Let's stick the pillow in it. Doing more trimming. did all that. I hope I didn't put it in upside down. I didn't. Okay. And let's take a look at it. All right, so I think I'm gonna take, here we go. So let me stand up so we can see this. Here's what it looks like. Just to give you an idea. Let's see here. So I've got room here in the back, as you can see. This is the back of the pillow, so there's that much room. And the pillow stops right here. I think this is called a flange. I'm not sure what it's called. So I'm gonna go ahead. I like that it falls right here. I do like this because sometimes I usually flip this over. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to just take a little bit, sew it a little bit smaller. So probably about 1.5 inches, an inch to 1.5 inches. Okay, so when I told you that I'm going 1.5 inches, I guess I needed to show you this. This is how I'm taking my 1.5 inches. I'm going where the sewing line is, take my ruler, 1.5 inches, and I mark it. And then just go along the whole thing and mark it. Which, I can't even see my mark. Let's try it again. There we go. And go right next to it here so I have it better. There we go. It was falling in the white, which doesn't help when you've got a white piece of chalk here. You need it. Okay. And then I take my ruler on that chalk line and I just mark it like that, back and forth, just to give you an idea. And then you can see it. I hope you, there you go. You can see it now. And then I'll just sew on that line. All right, so I just thought about something else I want to tell you. Now, even though I went in this 1.5 inches, keep in mind, which you probably don't think about it, a lot of people don't, that when you put your ruler on the 1.5 inch, whether you put, for example, I went ahead and put my 1.5 inch mark on the ruler in the middle of the sewing line. But when you go and you mark it, you're not marking it at 1.5. And you're going, yeah, I am. But no, you're not. You're going ahead of your ruler, which is even more. The 1.5 would actually be on the corner of your ruler over here. So this is how people get their measurements off. You're thinking that it's exactly 1.5 from here, but it's not really 1.5 because it's got a lot to do with where this point is on your stitch and where you've marked it. So really, I've marked it a little bit more than, you can't say 1/8 of an inch because it's less than that. So it's probably 1/32 of an inch. But the point is, if your inches had to be approximate, that's fine. But if they've got to be spot on, then you make sure that you're coming to the right-hand side of the line so that when you mark, it's going to be as if it was on the line. I hope that's making sense to you. That's just another tidbit, just something to be aware of and to think about when you're sewing something. All right, let me finish sewing this. Now, 1 or 2 things. Oh, well, maybe more than 1 or 2 things. If you want to stitch around your pillow again because you don't have a serger, that's fine. Just to reinforce it. You don't need to, but some people like to do that. And I'm going to use my pinking shears to go around it so that it's not unraveling. You can also do a zigzag stitch, which keep it from unraveling, because depending on the fabric that you used, and not everybody uses 100% cotton when they're making something. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to make sure that it doesn't come unravel during use. So I'm going to finish going all the way around it, and then I will flip it back inside out and show you the finished product. All right, there's our pillow. I really like it. It's nice and firm enough, but not too firm. I like the way the pillowcase turned out. Here's the top. There's the pillow in it. I hope you liked this pillow tutorial and that you make some for yourself or even your friends, your kids. Everybody always loves a pillow, especially when it's made for them. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye.